This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Must be 6:34, 3.
I got 6:34.
Well, we'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum present. It was posted in the town, posted in the village. We have the minutes of March 24th.
I move approval.
Second. Motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Public appearances. None. Chief's report.
All right, we're sitting at 38 members. It consists of 8 officers, 1 driver operator, 25 firefighters, and 4 probationary members. Current call volume is at 73 for the year. That's 27 for the village, 22 for the town, 8 for Pleasant Springs, and 16 for mutual aid.
Is that an improvement or?
So far, it's a significant drop from last year.
So, okay.
You guys into Monona for the fire?
Nona, McFarland, and some Prairie all on Saturday.
Okay.
Yep. This month we brought on 3 new members, but we lost 1 in March for changing his job. He couldn't commit to the time anymore. Ladder 1 needed some more repairs. There was a battery charger that went bad that has been replaced. Squad had check engine light and a coolant leak. Both of those items were repaired. The new engine is scheduled for final inspection on May 10th. From there, it'll go directly to Reliant, and I estimate we'll have it the week of the 16th. We were able to get a grant for a Sparky the dog costume from FM Global, be used for the schools and fire prevention. And then we applied for several grants this month, including the Leary Foundation for thermal imaging cameras, Firehouse subs for the in-station air fill system. And that's it for now.
You heard anything from AFG grant?
They haven't started awarding any of those yet.
Awarded anything?
No.
Any questions? Discuss and consider sale of engine 3.
So I brought that up because obviously the new engine is going to be here pretty soon. Just trying to see what you guys want to do to get rid of the old one. Our plan is, with it going to Reliant, the day that it comes here, we're going to transfer all the equipment from the old truck to the new truck, and it's going to go into service pretty much the day it arrives, and then the old truck will be ready for sale. So I know last time with the brush truck, you guys put it out front, but that's probably not as much demand for a fire engine as there is a pickup truck. So
Probably not.
so probably like.
What do you expect the sale to be for?
I just looked this last week and it's all over the place. There's some that sold for up to 50 grand and there's others that sold for like 10. So it's kind
Is that
of
on Wisconsin surplus?
all over depending on what people need. So
Yeah, the big thing though is that everything on this truck is still certified yet, so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's gonna be.
A big selling point.
Plus.
unless somebody wants it just for the chassis and they don't really care about the pump certs or any of that stuff.
Cool.
Send it to Ukraine.
You
You got a boat?
So is this like do you list it multiple places? Like, I have no idea, other than parking it up front, I don't even know how you,
So
like you
most,
mentioned Wisconsin surplus, but I mean,
Yeah.
like, is this Craigslist, Facebook, sell it any way you can, or is it is there more official ways to
There
sell?
are some people that like when they post something on surplus, they'll put out an ad in Facebook, and we can put it on the Wisconsin Fire Chief's website saying our trucks for sale, go to Wisconsin Surplus for details,
Oh, okay.
kind of thing. But if you're listing it on surplus, you probably can't really sell it outright out from under somebody while they're bidding on it, you know? So you can just point them to that, but it's up to you. I mean, if you guys want to try selling it outright first, you can. Deerfield,
I didn't know how much is that gonna cost us.
Wisconsin surplus doesn't charge you anything.
No, I understand that, but I mean, is he gonna incur expenses otherwise?
we gotta find some place to put the truck while you're trying to sell it, and then, I mean, otherwise, there's not really any expense to it, but you're probably not gonna get as much for it. I mean, Deerfield sold their squad outright, and I think they got like $7,000 for it. So,
Wow.
And then the question is, do we want to put a minimum on it? If we put on Wisconsin
I
surplus.
don't know, do we? What is the minimum value?
Looking at seeing, you know,
I mean, I understand that it's a market driven force, but
unfortunately, every Monday, I look for the email from Wisconsin Surplus that comes into my inbox just to see, I'm just curious, to see everything that's sold there, you know? And construction equipment, like say towns with trucks and graders and that kind of thing, as well as fire trucks, your fire equipment and stuff, I do watch just because of the fact that we do sell stuff here. And the chief is correct. I mean, if stuff is, especially if it's certified, it's current, you know, there's no major, you know, issues with drivetrain or anything else like that. Prices have really shot up over the last year or two for equipment, especially the fact that when you can't get anything, plus the equipment
well,
brokers.
plus the 2 years out,
True,
you know?
yeah. Plus the equipment brokers that I see sell stuff that predominantly goes south of the border into South America, Central America. You know, people are paying money for the stuff now. So I would consider, or I would recommend that perhaps maybe we do consider this case, maybe putting a reserve on it just to help out with stuff. Just to make sure that we're gonna get the serious bidders rather than the guy, well, I'll just, you know.
Lowball it.
Steal it, you know, basically steal it for a song and a dance.
And then turn around and sell it to some broker
Send it
who,
to South America.
yeah, you know, buy it to flip it, so to speak.
So like what is I mean, when I hear between 10 and 50,
Yeah,
you want to figure it's on the
huge
higher
range.
half of that, right? So it's somewhere between 25 and 50. So like you put your reserve at like 20, 19 and a half.
I don't know, what do you think?
20 might be,
I think 20 would be a good number. I mean,
I always think of my
That's just good for, I mean, that's
eBay
not a
days where
bad
you
price
do
for the
like-
chassis. You know, I mean, excluding the fact that you've got a fully functional, serviceable truck.
Vehicle.
yeah, unfortunately, they're just not, even with the shortage, there's no consistency to it, you know?
because you don't know what people might buy it and part it out.
Right.
A pump or something. Like if I can get a pump for something, like if their truck is fine but got in an accident or something like that. Really. I think my only input would be rather than listing it right at 20, I'd do be like 19,989 or something. Like just something, because like when people look for that type of
You wanna
stuff,
save that $2?
well, so there's a mental a thing, like when you look at your,
I understand the whole marketing
Yeah.
concept.
so that would be my only recommendation rather than listing it right at 20, because people are going to set their search limit right at
20.
20, and like that one gets outlawed. So I would just be right under that. Is what I would do.
I think we discussed that off camera when the time, seriously, you know,
You guys got a surplus account, right? I mean, like, I'm assuming the one of the entities, the
Yeah.
municipalities would end up selling it. and then
Yeah, we've sold stuff for the town on
We would get
Wisconsin
hands-on
surplus.
inspections if they wanted to see it.
Does the village use it for equipment sales?
We don't have a ton of stuff to sell most lately, last year or two.
And it makes sense to me to sell it on Wisconsin surplus. and
Certainly
just-
listed under our account if you wanted. But make sure in your description you put down all the high points
1999.
and it's still certified.
Yeah, I made sure all the inspection records and all the repair records were up to date on that one, so be able to hand them a binder with all the invoices and receipts from everything we've done to it, so.
1999.
Or $39.99.
I like your numbers better.
36 cents.
We
Let's
discussed
not
it.
outfit ourselves here.
And it's weird, like
Well,
one of the low
close
trucks
on,
was
yeah.
a ladder truck, which, I mean, a ladder truck is the most
Price wise, rather than.
That was
More
like,
stuff to
We're
break in the
gonna create
that
a
was like $7,000 they got.
reserve for
it.
it when it
But
comes
then
time
a
to
regular
sell.
engine, they got
You won't
almost
do it
50
for
for it.
I think it depends on time, right? Because those are auctions, so they,
If somebody has a truck that they crashed and they can't get a new one for 2 years, well,
And that's the important thing to remember is that there's a 2-year gap.
Yeah.
To getting a new truck.
and then you did ask, Nick, you did ask a question about where to park it. Is that part, that's another thing I think we have to figure out.
yeah, I'm assuming, I mean, we'll drain the tank and there shouldn't be a freeze issue.
Whose house is
May.
closest?
Pardon?
Not mine. Chris's maybe.
You could check with Dan and see if in our cold storage building, if he would have room for it in there.
Yeah, we'll park it in my garage, yeah.
Yeah, there you
Move
go.
the trash
You got that 17-car garage.
Is this door high enough?
You know, I happen to know some firemen who have some equipment that might be able to make that thing a little bit bigger.
You know, with a little increase.
That's my 14-foot
Good
door.
remodel anyway.
Right.
Easier to find a spot for a car than go.
I'd check with Dan,
Okay.
see if he has space down there. Otherwise, I don't know where we could.
I don't know. I mean, it's a huge engine.
When we got the brush truck last time, we were able to shift stuff around in there to make room for it, but I mean, an engine's quite a bit bigger, you know, there isn't really.
Does it have to be in a garage versus in a?
It could be
It-
outside. in
It
theory,
depends
but
on the weather, you know.
Depends on the weather.
I don't think it's gonna freeze anymore, Ted.
No.
Well, it's tonight. Right.
I just said that.
It's gonna take a
Wow.
lot to freeze.
That's
500
deep.
gallons of water.
Well, they could drain it too.
Yeah, we'll drain it.
Gonna mess up that the wax on it though, man.
I know.
You have to park it
Felt
outside.
quick.
List it on Wisconsin surplus and put a
And hope
reserve
for the
on it
best.
somewhere in the area where we've been talking, I guess.
So is that a motion?
1999.
Second.
Are we listing it right away or what's the direction there?
Not until the week before you get the
New truck.
Yeah.
new one.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to make sure that they don't delay it anymore and then
Right.
we sell it. But I think all the equipment's gonna come off the truck the day of the inspection, because we're gonna actually take all the equipment up to Reliance, so when they put the brackets on, they can put the equipment on right away, basically.
Oh,
So the truck might be out of service May anyways, May 10th. So I
so
would maybe put it for sale May 10th.
at the date that you take it out of service, I guess, list it.
So moved.
Any discussion on the motion?
So it's list on Wisconsin surplus the week of May 10th.
Yeah.
For we're
Are we
gonna-
putting a price tag on it or?
1999.
You know, I guess I would like to see a reserve,
Yeah.
but if we're gonna say what the reserve is in front of this, anybody who's worth their salt watches this meeting, oh yeah, we know exactly what to bid, it kind of negates the purpose. And I don't believe that we would be out of order to go ahead and discuss a reserve off camera. Do you?
There's not a closed session, no, but I think,
We can have a consensus.
right, couldn't we leave it up to
We
the
already
chief?
do. We already have a consensus, I think.
I think the
What's
motion
that?
can say that we leave it up to the chief and then he can discuss with who he wants offline.
After some research about.
And then he
best
can come back to
figures.
us.
See what's on next week's
Yeah.
auction.
But we don't want to like.
Hold it up.
No, I understand that, but it's still, it's May 10th before we're expecting the new engine.
Right, I'm saying we don't necessarily want the chief to come back and announce the price he's gonna put on the auction site.
Oh, I agree.
That's the whole point of
Yeah,
Steve.
yeah, no, I agree.
So.
So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discuss, consider SCBA fill system update.
Okay, so we presented this back in March. I believe they gave you a price of 23,000, somewhere in there for that. Since that meeting, we've gotten a fill station for free. The only thing is that the bottles that it came with are 4,500s and they need to be updated to a 6,000. So that's what that quote from Jefferson Fire is. That's to upgrade the bottles to 6,000s and install the system. We did write a grant for that though. So I mean, I'm just kind of giving you guys an update that if that grant fails, there is another option and it's cheaper than the original option that was presented to you guys. Yes.
This is a bottle fill
Yep.
and you got it for free?
So Deerfield sold their squad to a tow truck company. And the tow truck company had no use for the one that was on their truck. So they gave it to us for free. Kind of a deal there, I guess, but
So you can't use it though until. this
not
will be
until we
converted.
get the 6,000 bottles.
And when will you know about that grant?
That one I believe was the firehouse. If it's the firehouse one, then it's end of the second quarter.
Okay.
So like
End of June.
Yeah, should be end of June, July, somewhere in there.
So will this invoice still be good then, our estimate? or quote?
He said it didn't change very much from the
Expires
last,
May 4th.
change, so it'll be probably pretty close, but I'll get it refreshed if we need to.
On this quote, it looks like,
It's very interesting how they quote.
yeah, it's like just the cylinder is $6,600 and the rest is free.
Yeah. I did clarify, he said that that's 6,600 for the cylinders, them to install it in the room and for them to test it. And then,
Yeah, I mean, the quote says it expires 5/4, but it doesn't change much, but well, he doesn't have a lot of, I mean, like material wise, there's not much change here. There's not much stuff that has to get into
Yeah.
like piping and that sort of thing.
yeah, and I'm not expecting you guys to vote on it right now. I'm just kind of giving you guys an update on it.
Okay. Discuss, consider east parking lot island removal price update.
The last month you guys approved 15,000 for Snyder's. And he said in his quote that it was a budget item. So when he came back and he looked at where we were actually talking about, and finalized his numbers, he's at 18.
Cheaper than that other one.
What's that?
It's still cheaper than the other one that was.
Yeah, that was 28.
It's 28 for the other
I
one.
agree.
So it's significantly cheaper still.
And he does everything then that we wanted.
Yep, that's what that picture is. So they would take out that, originally he didn't include taking out that planter and bush next to the building. So he had to include that. I guess that's where it came out to.
I think most of the it looks like most of the work is on the drainage.
Yeah.
Having to rework that. Rework existing basin for new flat lid with slotted grate. Storm drain.
So motion to approve the additional $3,000 for Snyder to complete the work.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. So approving the extra $3,000
From the ESB.
from the Emergency Service Building Fund.
Yeah, is that where the previous one was?
Yeah. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discuss, consider extraction equipment,
Extrication.
extrication.
For this one, this year for the festival, the association wanted to fundraise for new extrication equipment.
Jaws.
Yeah, new jaws of life. So I think there is a plan in place for them to buy a full set of it, but they had some questions whether the plan is to buy a new set for engine 4, take the set from engine 4 and move it to engine 3 because the one, or engine to the squad, I mean, because the one on the squad is pretty small. It's a lot smaller and not as nice. And then they were wondering if there was any opportunity to sell the set from the squad to offset some of the costs for the new set.
I don't know why not.
Could you have any room on any of the brush trucks?
The brush has already got, we bought an electric tool for the brush ourselves a few years ago, and I've already got that one on an electric combi tool. So
You think you could sell it versus using it
Probably.
in another truck
I
or?
mean, I don't think it's gonna get used in another truck. It's just gonna sit there
Yeah.
and we can sell it, but I don't think you're gonna get a ton for it either. I mean,
It's
there's
just,
30 some years old now.
it's like my toolbox is full of tools I'll probably never use in the next 30 years, but in 30, if I sell it in 30
You're gonna need
years, I'm gonna need that damn tool. So like,
I know I've got the same wall in my garage, so
and I've gotten rid of tools before that like literally
it's
an hour later, I'm like,
heartbreaking.
man, I could have used that tool again. So like, there's that part of me that like my dad is like just screaming in my head right now, don't get rid of that tool because you're gonna want to.
You're gonna need it.
You're gonna need it, but then it just takes up space.
Your wife must love that.
And she loves that too, but it's just, it's a rock and a hard place.
I mean,
Like,
we're
where
not
you
We
gonna
have
put
one
it?
in each of the engines,
Currently, we
the
have one.
squad and the brush truck.
Currently, we have them in engine 4, squad, and then we have the one electric tool in the brush truck. Plan would be to take the hydraulic set that's in the engine 4 right now, move that to the squad, buy an all electric set for engine 4, because that's our primary vehicle accident truck, can't talk. And then get rid of the set that's currently in the squad because it's smaller and doesn't move as fast.
Cut down small trees with those things.
Done that.
There you go. There you go. Multi-use guy.
So I guess what I'm hearing is every truck that would need one currently has one,
Except for yours.
except I don't need one that draws light.
You sure you don't want this?
But when you need it.
Never
In
know,
your
man.
toolbox?
Really, the only truck that doesn't have one that would be the ladder, but to roll a ladder to a car accident, that to me is
No.
a waste of resources.
I noticed your assistant chief is shaking his head no.
He said that to me because it's like, I don't care if that truck's out of service, the ladder's not going to a car wreck. The ladder's not going to a car wreck. The ladder's not going to a car wreck. I'm like, on the radio, like, no, I'm not doing this. No. I think we agree with you 100% that we've considered, should we keep it? The fact it's how many years old now?
It's at least
20,
25.
25, it's,
You might as well get the money out of it if you can.
It's not even the money thing. It's just like there's newer, better, lighter.
Yeah.
It's so old that
And I agree with that. But the whole thing is that It's like,
Two-stroke motor,
you know,
or four-stroke motor.
well,
are you
we're on the same
looking at
page.
spending $35,000 for an upgrade or?
We're on the same page. I get it.
It's
But
a
it just-
four-stroke. It's a four-stroke.
Yes.
it's a good little pump, but it's,
I guess the reason we were bringing it up is because technically the municipalities owns that set of the jaws. If the association's buying this new set, you know, it wouldn't be appropriate for us to just take your guys' jaws and sell it and keep the money or something like that. So
I'll make a motion to sell the John.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second.
I'm
So
just, yes, I have discussion, sorry. Sorry, Chris, finish your sentence.
discussion.
What about donating it, or, I don't know, this is gonna sound like the Cottage Grove Historical Society, or like if it's that old,
They're not that old,
okay,
not old enough that it would be.
but eventually it will.
Eventually it'll be an antique, but it's not an antique.
But, I mean, is there someplace
I'm
that
glad I'm not 25.
could donate it to?
I know Steve, where did we donate all that turnout gear to? Do you remember?
Peru.
Peru. It's like 6 of one, half dozen of the
I mean,
other.
You know, sending down a container, a portion of a container load of clothing is different than trying to send down a hydraulic gasoline powered, you know, piece of equipment that,
It gets really complicated when you start to, especially if you're shipping it overseas.
Yeah.
And with everything else going on in the world, it's tough. to-
Especially that.
Yeah. I mean, Madison College doesn't need it, right? For their fire program, they probably have.
Newer stuff.
Newer and better.
Hey, Nick.
They've got way newer stuff than us.
Yeah, if they knew we had it, like.
Nick?
Yeah.
There are departments here in Wisconsin that desperately look for extrication equipment at low cost.
Well, do you think that you can sell it then?
We could probably sell it for pretty low cost or donate it, like Sarah mentioned. But there are departments that really struggle to fundraise for this kind of stuff, for this kind of resource, and they're always looking for it. So if we sold it at a low cost, we could probably get rid of it that way, or even consider donating it to a department that needs it.
But what's the cost versus access? I mean, do we want to just donate it or do we want to try to sell it?
A piece of equipment like this, brand new today, is extremely expensive. So to raise funds for something like this, fundraising, it takes a department a long time to fundraise for a piece of equipment like this or a tool like this. So they have to spend a lot of time fundraising for something like this. We are fortunate here in Cottage Grove that we have a lot of people that support us. So we're really lucky in that way. But there are other smaller communities that have to spend a lot of time fundraising for tools and equipment like this. So I would say if we're going to sell it, you know, we probably wouldn't get a lot of money for it if we put it on Wisconsin surplus. So I wouldn't plan on us getting a lot of money for it. Or we would have to consider donating it, like Sarah said. So
I mean, who's to consider what's a reasonable donation to other communities across Wisconsin?
Well, you could put it on Wisconsin surplus, don't put a
And don't put a minimum.
minimum on it, and if somebody gives you $100 for it, so $100, and they got.
There you
something cheap.
go.
I don't know.
Otherwise, do you know any communities, or how would we find out what communities need it too?
Put out a message on
I know my hometown in Tomahawk, Wisconsin. Could use any of this stuff.
April, do you know any off the top of your head?
I do. I know there's a lot of departments out there that don't even have extrication equipment. But you have to be trained to use stuff like this. You know, we're all transitioning in this area to battery powered, just because it's a better technology, it's safer, it's faster, it's an improved technology for us. But there are some that are starting off with the hydraulic because that's cheaper and they have, you know, it's what they can get access to with the funds that they have available to them. And so that's what we are looking to get rid of is the hydraulic, because we're advancing with our funds to the battery powered. So there are a lot out there that are just looking for something. So I think that there are going to be some that might jump on the opportunity to even purchase this at a low cost if we were to put it on Wisconsin surplus. So we might get something minimally, but if we don't get any bites, there are departments we could donate this to. And yeah, I do know of a few. So
yeah, I think my motion still stands. I think we should just list it on Wisconsin surplus for, just no reserve. I mean, like,
Yeah.
because it's not, I don't want to say it's not
like
worth
we don't
anything, but
need it.
yeah.
Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Discuss, consider PAA recommendations, items 1A through C and 2A through M regarding the fire district mission, vision, and goals.
So I put together a draft. Nothing set in stone. This is just a draft. Figured we treat this as more of a working session, just kind of walk through these.
Expensive paper.
This is really nice paper.
Wow.
Amazon, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't know how many people were.
And extra.
And extra too.
And only one side, so you can use the other side, you know, for whatever. So is what's in our packet, is that what the fire department has? And so is that the fire department's mission?
That's not our mission statement. We just came up with an idea to help for the joint district. Because I think the fire department mission statement and vision and goals are kind of different than the district itself, right? You know, obviously the fire department's going to deliver the service, but the committee is the one that has to provide the resources for the service, I guess, if I'm explaining that clearly. So we kept our mission, vision, and values kind of the same on our fire side, but we came up with maybe some ideas to help incorporate to a district one.
So interesting, what you guys put together, Chief, is for the fire department, and I think what David's document is about this committee, the mission statement of this committee. I hadn't thought about them as two separate things.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But it is two separate things.
Yeah, it's helpful to see. I mean, it makes it easier, right?
You
to
know,
talk about it that
it's however we view our role in this versus their role.
way. Mhm.
You know, their role is to make sure the community is safe.
I mean, I kind of put mine together. It took a couple weeks to put mine together. So I think, thank you, by the way, for putting this together too. So I think we can kind of merge these two as we go. Again, this is all draft, right? So
You're not going to offend us if
no,
we modify it in any way.
I'm not married. I'm not married to the words on the page. So
I like that stuff written down. I think that's probably the question based on what I don't think any of it's wrong. I think the question is, you're right, is it, what are you writing the mission? Are you writing it for both entities? Are you writing it for this governmental body?
You know,
Or you're writing it for the district as a whole?
you need to remind the community that we're a community.
I mean, that's the way, just that I kind of looked at it. It was, as I sat down, like, it was like, I guess I took the easy way out to write it as a committee rather than as a, you know, a department and a committee combined. Like, it almost gets more difficult, right? Because there's a lot that goes into the district, right? Versus as a committee. So I guess I took the easy way out. Just wrote it for the committee.
I like that admission though.
I mean, it just,
But it makes sense to me, you know.
It should be though the mission of the district, not just this committee.
I think the struggle then is they already have a mission statement. So like what,
How can we fit that
how do we
into?
fit that into the district as a whole?
Adopt theirs.
Well, I think that again,
Ours is more geared towards a fire department in
Yeah.
general than an actual district. So I understand
Yeah, and I agree with that as well.
change it, you know, ours specifically talks about doing fire service where,
But
you know,
But you have to get called out for every fire.
right.
You know, it doesn't matter whether it's in the village or the city or the township or whatever.
Right.
You guys have to perform.
and I looked at it too. One of the main reasons I took the easy way out is I tried to look at it from a resident's perspective, right? It doesn't know the business of the fire department, doesn't know the business of the committee, right? So from a layperson's perspective, they're like, fire department fights
Why is my
fires.
house being,
Right, well, the fire department comes when I need the, you know, when I, you know, cat's in the tree or the grease catches fire. The committee, on the other hand, what do we have to do? So that's why I took that approach. It was like, because I've had to explain it to no less than at least 24 people, and they're like, why is there a committee that has to work with the fire department? Why can't the fire department just do their job? And I'm like, that's a good question, and that's kind of the frame of reference I used to try to put this all together.
Yeah, so looking at PA's thing, it says that the Joint Fire Department Committee, in coordination with the Cottage Fire Department, needs to develop a strategic plan outlining the following: the mission statement, or the organizational values, and the vision statement. So, I mean,
it's a lot of work.
sounds kind of like they're looking for they knew that we already had, so PAA took our vision statement, our mission statement, all that stuff. That was part of their audit. But I think they were looking for something that this committee would be following, not just the fire department, I guess, right?
I think this is where, I mean, granted, it's just words on the page, but when I look at the recommendations, this is where I look at what we put together, the example you put together. Like, I think this is where we need your guidance to tell us, you know, how you feel about what I put together, and does this committee like what I put together, and kind of how do we mold this? So I guess if we just look at the mission statement, right? If we've all had a chance to read all three, maybe we just kind of take it. Let's just focus on the mission statement for a second. Any knee-jerk reactions with it?
No, I don't have any problems at all, but that's the whole point. I want to make sure that it's okay with the fire chief.
I think it's, you're looking from the district standpoint, then that the purpose of it was, when we discussed last time, that it was to look at this from the purpose of a district. And within that district, there's three things that make up the district: the town of Cottage Grove, the village of Cottage Grove, and the Cottage Grove Volunteer Fire Department, Inc. So the CGVFD Inc. is going to have a different vision. Is it going to be a lot different? No, it's not going to, but they're a contracted entity versus it's three entities together. So I think the way we looked at it was, what does the district look like? There's definitely some good things in there. What does this committee do? Absolutely. I think those are good places to be, so people understand what's going on. Obviously, the fire side, we know about that. And then that's why we have these meetings. So you're always looking for guidance, and I think that it all says that.
But that's the whole point,
The
though.
question is, what do you want it to look for as a district? And I don't know what the PA was looking for. What does this committee do? I'm not really sure. That's not for me to determine. It's for you all to determine. You had the study done.
I feel like if PAA was in the room, they would point the finger at us and say, it's up to you guys to figure out
Yeah, right.
what to do. Steve, go ahead. You've been trying to.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole different matter if they're here and answering to us, this committee. Whether answering in some void, you know, that they say, well, if we could have $180,000, you know, we could solve this problem.
Sure. You're just looking at your mission statement.
Any point?
Are you sure?
But just looking at Dave's mission statement, well, I mean, we don't have any objections to it. Nothing in it is, you know, none of it's, I didn't know more than that. But
I like what you wrote. The only thing that I have a question in my mind about, which is about this much of it, is we all know that we don't see eye to eye, and you've publicly made that in the statement. That would be, I guess, if I were to make any changes, I would find a way to make that sentence flow without using the word putting our differences aside. That'd be, you know, I just, a public affirmation of, you know, the fact that we're not all on the same page all of the time, you know.
I guess what, I agree with it.
You know, that's everything, you know, I
Yeah,
just,
no, I think it's when I said differences, I didn't necessarily mean personal differences, right? Like,
no, I'm just saying, well, I mean,
But
there
that's
is,
what he's saying.
What I meant was that the town and the village have very different needs,
exactly.
right? So, and again, I put that in there just because I couldn't think of a better way to say it. So I thought, let me just put it on paper and then we'll come to the meeting and we'll
Sure,
think of a way
sure,
to
no,
hash it out, right?
that's,
I think it's the what we need every day is different than what you need every day, month, year, right? Things are changing as we go, right? So I couldn't think of a better way to say putting our differences aside.
What if we just said, and working towards the betterment of the department, the committee, and our respective communities?
I like that.
So, but in this case, is it the Cottage Grove Fire Department, or are we talking about the CGVFD Inc.?
I was talking, the way I was looking at it was the town and the village.
The committee.
But
Committee.
it's all an interpretation. You know, it's how we view the community, how we view the village, how we view the township. I don't know, what do you want me to do?
no, your comment or your clarification, this long clarification of putting differences aside, you know, from a needs perspective as opposed to a philosophical difference. You know what I'm saying? What you're saying here, the differences meaning in how we see, like how you guys see the need for a fire department versus how we see the need for a fire department versus butting heads over philosophical differences, which is how I originally took that comment to mean.
But I don't see us disagreeing with the fact that, you know, the village is looking at building a huge.
No, right. Their needs are going to be different than ours in the years to come.
That's exactly.
Okay,
the point.
and that's what he is referring to is the needs differences versus philosophical differences
And
in how we want to see the
And
fire
I
department.
understand that.
So I just trying to figure out a way to.
How do we reword it to?
Exactly. No, I'm just saying.
Now you see what my dilemma, right? It's putting your differences aside, so instead of.
No, but that's the whole
Working
point.
towards the betterment.
You know, that's, you guys are considering a 5-story Amazon building.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have a 5-story Amazon building. So we don't need that ladder truck. So how do we explain that to the people of the township of Cottage Grove.
The same way we did when we bought the first ladder truck.
And
It was. that
But
meant
that's
for the
exactly
district.
the point.
We can say working together for the better. That's ultimately what we're talking about here is we're all one community and we're all working together.
Yes, that's exactly it. We're a district.
For the betterment of the district.
We aren't,
Should start off the Cottage Grove Fire District
That's the
That would be my
recommendation that we would have
is to
to.
provide the Cottage Grove Fire Department timely and prudent financial guidance, strategic goals and measures, and a willing and supportive public partner.
that's exactly my point.
And it can stop right there.
That's it.
Yeah, but a mission statement, you have to explain how you're gonna do that.
No,
Yeah, you do.
You do. You can't just stop, like, cause again, that would be, it'd be something, it wouldn't be a mission statement then. You have to explain how you're going to do it, and that's the follow-on information.
but so how do we do that?
It's written right here. This is accomplished by providing an equitable funding formula, meeting regularly and working together for the betterment of the department, the committee, and our respective
I hate
communities.
to use this word, but it keeps popping into my head. That ugly C word, collaboration. I mean, it gets so overused, but I mean, it just,
So working
Well,
collaboratively,
it works. I mean, I hate to say it.
sure.
I had that. I agree with you.
I mean, it just,
So Chris, you mentioned you
I
wanted
was
the,
thinking a difference.
you mentioned you wanted
No.
the joint fire districts mission?
The Cottage Grove Fire District.
Cottage Grove Fire District.
And I agree with Chris on that whole
it shouldn't
point.
be fire district committee.
No.
No,
The district's mission.
Why is that? That would be saying then exactly, it would be describing us in the same manner that the chief describes the department.
what?
Department's part of the district.
In theirs,
So then if you want it to be the district, then we need to fold in more of what they wrote and talk about what we as a committee do and then how that fits into the,
But
Fire
we,
department.
all we offer is guidance.
and money.
Well, I agree.
Money.
Just being smart aleck.
I'm just, but it's the whole point of, all we're trying to do is provide
Take
guidance.
his second sentence and put that in ours. The mission shall be accomplished by ensuring adequate resources are available to provide fire suppression and rescue services, code enforcement, public education, fire investigation, and professional development training.
I agree.
No, in ours as our second sentence.
But that's not what we do. I mean, we provide the resources, but
Correct.
we don't do the fire suppression and rescue.
But that's not our job.
We
Right,
ensure
that's his
that
job.
we have
Right,
the
so it shouldn't
adequate.
be in our mission.
so
statement.
I can make these all one. So what I can say is you can start out by stating in the mission statement that the district is made up of the Joint Fire Committee and the Cottage Grove Fire Department. Next sentence, we can say the committees basically have what I have written out here. And then we can bring back in what the chiefs put here as far as
Yeah.
the fire district to prevent loss of life, control, reduce, go on.
And that's all okay.
Huge,
Okay.
be a huge mission statement.
That's why splitting it out is easier. So that, again, my frame of reference was if you have to go out to the public, go run down to the pig and like grab some random person who lives in the town or the village and explain this to them. If you call it the district, I don't think they're gonna know what you're talking about. But if you say there's the fire department and then there's a joint fire committee and that makes up the fire district, that's easier for someone to understand.
Correct, and I agree with that because I worked at the pig.
They don't make up the district. We do, the two of us.
Plus the fire department.
We contract with them.
So that district agreement
that you
It's
guys
just
are working
between the
on
town and
individual
village.
case, that's between the town and the village, and we're just contracting to the district. We have a separate agreement with the district to Cottage Grove Fire Department, Inc.
Right.
So there's technically a couple contracts out there. Like I said, there's the one that you guys have been working on where you've been.
Yeah,
making
but how
tweaks
do
to
we,
it.
then there's the
how do we explain that to the general populace?
How are we supposed to explain it when I can't explain it to
Well,
myself?
that's the whole point.
Now we're getting like, so the committee makes up the district.
The town and village make up the district.
Okay. So the committee and the district are one and the same.
We represent the district here, sitting tonight.
Okay. So just change Cottage Grove or Joint Fire Committee to just Cottage Grove Fire District's mission is to provide the fire department timely and prudent financial guidance, on and on and on. To me, it's just semantics between committee and
But-
district.
But that's the whole issue, is how do you define the semantics?
I mean, if I change district, if I change committee to district, it still works.
Correct.
So
Or do you call it, just throwing it out there, the Cottage Grove Fire District Committee? No, I'm serious. I mean, it is. We are the committee for the district.
You used another C word. Look at that.
I'm easy either way.
No,
I
I'm
like
just
that.
saying,
I
it just,
like that, yeah.
But the district needs the mission statement, not the committee.
the committee is providing that for the district.
Well, let me ask the village, does all your committees have a mission statement?
A lot of them do.
No.
Most of them do.
The diversity, the DEI committee does.
The Housing Task Force does,
What is
the
that?
library board
Diversity,
does,
equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
Public Works does, pretty sure.
I know rec committee used to have one when we were all together, and
I mean, this is standard operating procedure for the village. For all new committees is to do this work.
This is making this a very difficult
it's,
decision.
but if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it correctly, you know, and if it takes a little bit of time and
Well, then it's gonna take some more time, because I'm not willing to agree.
Well, I mean, this is an important distinction, right? So
I agree.
I mean, this is even a step back from this stuff, right? This is a district, committee is a part of the district. The fire department has an agreement with the district. Am I wrong so far?
Yep.
I am wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay.
No, but that's the whole
What is
point.
it? So anything that I just
This
said,
is
did you?
just an evolving situation.
Yeah, but does anything I just said, do you not agree with?
No,
So then I don't see what the issue is then.
I personally don't have any issues at all whatsoever with your statement after we got the collaboration work squared away. The only thing is,
C words.
huh?
no C
Well,
words.
yeah, correct. But anyway, Chris has a point with, yes, we are the district, okay? But the district in and of itself does not have, the district itself is not a committee to go ahead and do our stuff here.
They have
There
a
has to be
response.
another adjective added to that to describe what we do
They
here.
have a response to the entire citizenship.
No, it's not even that. No, it's not. What I'm referring to, Mike, is the fact that our existence is necessary to make everything work for those guys, both
And
logistically.
I agree.
funds and so on and so forth. But we have to have a name that describes ourselves for the purposes of the mission statement. And if Chris has an issue with the fire department committee, maybe it should be the fire district committee, which is just another way of describing what it is that we do. And I don't believe personally that fire district committee is too verbose or outlandish or anything else like that to officially describe us. And I don't know how anybody else feels.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Fire district committee.
And I agree with Chris that we are a district and that,
I agree with that whole argument as well.
okay,
So here's how I modified what I wrote. The Cottage Grove Fire District Committee's mission is to provide the Cottage Grove Fire Department timely and prudent financial guidance, strategic goals and measures, and a willing and supportive public partner. This is accomplished by providing an equitable funding formula, meeting regularly to address the needs of the department, capital D department, and working collaboratively for the betterment of the department, the district, and our respective communities.
I love it.
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
Any objection from the fire department? Anything you want me to add from the draft that the fire department provided?
Their mission statement?
This is so stop me if I have this wrong, Nick, but what you sent, what's in our packet was the draft for the district.
Yeah,
Correct.
we don't have any objectives, or I guess we don't have any issues with what you just said. We would be fine using with what you said, and I don't think you have to chop and hack any of our stuff in there.
Okay. Everybody gets an equal voice. All right, moving forward. So then
Sure, you say that now.
vision statement. So again, and I'll make the changes here as we go here. So it's Cottage Grove Fire District Committee. So instead of saying Fire Department Committee, we're gonna say Cottage Grove Fire District Committee will strive to provide the Cottage Grove Fire Department with the tools and guidance required to make it one of the premier fire departments in the state of Wisconsin. We also strive to ensure the department continues to grow and remain a pillar of the community just as it has for the last 100+ years.
Are you sure it's 100+ years?
No.
Over 100 years? Did I have that wrong?
I'm not joining.
Let me phone a friend.
I guess when we talked, right, like the fire department has been around in one way, shape or another for roughly 100 years. So that's what I was just trying to, kind of pass on to the reader was that there's a ton of history, there's a lot of tradition, and we want to maintain and honor that moving forward.
No, that's fine. I was just making a joke.
And I wanted to, and I get that, but I just, again, without being too verbose, I wanted to say like
1911.
Oh, that's a B word.
100+. 100+ years. So, when we get close to 200, those poor schmucks are gonna have to change it. Make it 200 years. Now, the one thing that
Here?
I'm gonna live forever. The one question that I did have for you, Nick and Jess, was the statement about a premier fire department. So when I was doing research around vision statements, it's ultimately where you want to be, right? So even if you think you're perfect, you're not perfect, right? So you want to be better. So this one was the one that I had the hardest time with, was like, things are pretty great. I think we're trying to give you what you need, right? I think we've made a lot of gains, but like, where do you go from here now? Like, as a fire district, how do we help the department get even better?
But we can only go as far as we can. He comes to us with the budget and we approve the budget or not approve the budget.
Oh, for sure. But again, it's, I couldn't just say, everything's good right now, we're just gonna keep it good forever, right? Like, I was trying to like, and again, this is where I need help, is like, we're like.
Premier finest.
He could say he needs you know, 2 ladder trucks and,
Excellent.
you know, it's just, it's however much we want to spend.
One of the finest fire.
So officially 1929. So we're not officially, we've been around, but officially according to our state representative.
But on our
1920.
website, it says 1911 established.
Well, I think we did, but officially within the state, it was, and who knows what the paperwork was in
I
1911.
think
but
we filed for
I
charter
think we filed for charter
in
in 1929.
85 plus.
90 plus.
Who's gonna call us out on
Wow.
I like
Really?
100.
Wow.
it?
Wow.
So I guess on that first statement, Nick, I guess I'm looking for a statement from you around like, it, again, this is gonna end up on somewhere, right? Someone's gonna read this, and when you call yourself one of the premier or finest or excellent. I mean,
But
is
it's
that-
whatever it is.
Outstanding.
No, it's not. That's
What
what we
would you-
want to be.
Yeah, what do we want to be? That's the question.
Nick, Chief, what word would you use if, is it, what adjective?
Continued
I mean,
vital support.
premier or finest would be fine. I mean, we want to be better. I mean, the way it is. There's
Like
always
you
room-
said, no one's perfect.
There's always room for improvement.
The point of a vision statement, Mike, is that you're
I understand,
visionary. It's
I
the
understand
ultimate
that,
what we're going
but
for.
it's just, it's the whole point of, do we want to say that in a visionary
Yeah.
statement?
Yes, that's the point of a vision.
Okay, well, all right.
Let me ask a simple question. If you had a blank check and you had unlimited membership, what would you want the fire department to be? Like, what would be different? What would you change? You had unlimited money and unlimited people to volunteer.
Staff car.
That's-
I heard
We
that.
would like to see a vehicle at some point.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on where the district's at. I mean, I think we've had this conversation a few times where we know that at some point, it's not going to be doable to be a 100% volunteer fire department, right? So at some point, it's going to have to evolve into something more. But I think that's going to be based on call volume, how our recruitment and retention is going. To just blatantly say that we need to be a
But
full-time
I
department
agree with that
kind of,
statement.
you
You
know,
can't always have 100% volunteer fire force.
But I think, I want you to think beyond that though, right? Like you're thinking about from like, and again, I'm in the dark here feeling my way in so bear with me here, right? But like from a vision perspective, right? Like you're thinking about it from a funding perspective or from a staffing perspective. Like I think ultimately, I think this gets back to like the measures, like the strategic goals and measures, right?
How
Like,
much are we willing to spend?
No, that's not the thing right now.
yeah.
He has an unlimited budget to do anything that he
I
wants.
understand the
But I'm
question.
trying to get to a vision, like if we're okay with the vision of just the finest fire department in the state of Wisconsin. What's nice about that is it can mean anything to anyone at any time. Right? So you don't have to edit it. It's just, we are one of the finest fire departments in the state of Wisconsin. And that's a moving target at best anyways, day to day, year to year.
Mhm.
But again, these are just my words. And I was just like, I didn't want to come off too egotistical, right? Because it's like,
we
we're one of the
personally,
finest, you know?
we personally have a goal of trying to get the village to an ISO class 2. That's, to us, that would be that'd be a great benchmark. You guys are currently a 3, and we're making some changes to try and get you to that 2. For us, that'd be quite the achievement. The town's stuck at a 5. You're always going to be a 5 unless you build a water system. If you have to haul water.
Give us part of your budget that you have unlimited of right now. We'll build it for you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I understand.
But,
Maybe that could be a strategic goal.
right. So
I guess that brings up a good question. How do you get to an ISO 2?
that's, the way we're going to do it is by improving our pre-plans, which we've talked about. So
Does that take money to do?
That's that new program you guys approved
It
a
takes
few
money
weeks
all
ago,
the
the
time.
fire program that.
Mike, this all takes money, I get that, but I just,
It is what it is.
but I'm just, again, I'm trying to get towards, we're gonna talk about strategic goals and measures, but like, to me, a vision statement, like, if ISO 2, again, I'm as dumb as it comes to fire service, right? So if an ISO 2 is like 10, 15 years away, that's a perfect vision statement. You know, our goal is to reach.
But I understand that as well. Why aren't we working from an ISO 3 to an ISO 2?
We are,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's worth, it sounds like it's with, you know, typically a vision statement is, you know, you're not gonna do 3 to 5 years. You're gonna look 10 and beyond. And an ISO 2 Nick, how long do you think it would take to become an ISO 2?
Our goal is to do it by the next ISO audit, which would be, we just had one in 2019, typically about 5 years, so 2024.
So it's like right on the edge of putting that in your vision statement. So,
I teach mission and vision, and it's at the School of Social Work at UW, so it's a little different, obviously, context, but the way I teach a vision is you're never gonna get there. It's like, it is a vision, like,
sure.
our mission of our nonprofit is to eradicate poverty.
And I agree.
Clearly, we're not going to do that, right? But that's the point of the vision.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get there, but you're just always running towards it, right? Like running towards the sun. That's what keeps you going. So I like the idea of putting the ISO in the goals section, because that is something that's tangible that we will reach, right? That's what we're working on. I like the idea of the premier or some sort of other adjective,
Highest caliber.
that we can always be striving towards, yeah.
Another C word.
Wow.
You know,
Boy, that comes back forever, doesn't it?
You bet.
you know, I'd like your comment, you know, about the vision being, you know, theoretically unobtainable kind of thing. But rather than saying ISO 2, which is attainable, if you just keep saying improving the ISO rating, you know,
And I agree with Steve.
it might, you know, it'll give something to work towards, but without being too
Yeah.
direct as
Until
to
we
what
have
is
one, and then you can't get any.
continually improvement on ISO
You
rating.
don't want to be too myopically focused on ISO because there's other things. I guess it's, to me, right, and again, ignorant guy over here, like, I think we're, based on April's comments and the things you guys have told us, like, we could already consider ourselves one of the finest fire departments in the state of Wisconsin, just based on the resources we have, the membership that we have. I think, you know, again, by all measures, at least from my perspective, I think we're one of the finest fire departments. So I'm working off what Sarah says, like, we could just leave it the way it is, but is there something we could strive for that's even higher? Like, is there a higher bar to meet?
Godlike.
It's unattainable.
But that's the whole point. I mean,
And I just
you
don't know.
can
how you
always
do that
strive for
without
perfection.
making it better. I mean,
I think I'll just leave it at finest fire departments.
Highest caliber.
One of the highest caliber,
Mm.
or do you want finest and highest caliber?
Mm. Now you're talking really good.
Wow.
Okay,
How about one of the bestest?
Justice?
Yes.
that's what I would go with.
One of the best.
Elite.
One of the
Ooh,
highest,
elite.
I like this. Is required.
Okay, let's hear a wordsmith.
Yeah, with the tools and guidance required to make it one of the most elite fire departments in the state of Wisconsin.
Mm, that's pretty. I feel like we should be able to attain that though.
I feel like we're already there. That's why I keep pulling Nick's teeth here, is to try to figure out like, how do you sit? ISO 2 is attainable. Okay, so we meet 2, then what? Like, how do you
Move
become?
on.
Hold on. How do you become, like, you know, from a private fire department, like chapter 181, like, how do you become the best in the state? Like, what is that? How do you reach that brass ring?
improving fire prevention, training, equipment, all that.
Be the tools, training and guidance required.
Yep.
I see your leg shaking.
Oh, I'm okay.
Okay. So here we go. The Cottage Grove Fire District Committee will strive to provide the Cottage Grove Fire Department with the tools, training, and guidance required to make it one of the most elite fire departments in the state of Wisconsin. We also strive to ensure that the department continues to grow and remain a pillar of the community just as it has for the last 100+ years.
I thought we were changing it to 90 plus.
Okay, fine. I just liked 100 just because it's
Wow.
cooler.
Right? It was
That's
90
just-
plus.
I'm just saying.
90+ years.
Hey, you might want to take out, you
All
might
right.
want to take that out because 10 years from now, you're going to have to update that to 100+ years.
Still right,
Wow.
90+.
Because it has, yeah, like Sarah just said.
Wow.
Can we just have it be grow and remain a pillar of the community? Do we need the
That would be
different-
my suggestion.
That'd probably be
It just-
easier then.
As much as I like to have it there, it's just great, but
I was just trying to point out that it has a long and storied history in the number.
And I understand that as well.
April's gonna call
Remain a
you
pillar of the
in 10
community.
years and tell you that it's out of date.
There we go. Okay, moving on. Organizational values. Let's change, hold on.
Thank you, April.
Thank you, April. The Cottage Grove Fire District Committee values open and honest communication in order to fulfill the committee's mission and vision. Additionally, by providing the Cottage Grove Fire Department with the very best life-saving equipment, the committee enables the department to fulfill its mission and vision. Lastly, the committee values fair and equitable sharing of the responsibilities discharged to the committee.
Change committee to district.
I don't have any problem with that.
All of them or just the last?
Well, those last
The last district.
3.
Did I get them all?
Of the districts.
So I thought, one question I did have, by providing the Cottage Grove Fire Department with the very best life-saving equipment, we did say in the vision statement that we provide tools, training, and guidance. And I thought about replacing life-saving equipment with tools, training, and guidance.
That would tie it all together nice.
The rug really tied the room together. Okay, so let me read it to you. Additionally, by providing the Cottage Grove Fire Department with the very best tools, training, and guidance, the district enables the department to fulfill its mission and vision. Want to read the whole thing, or
I,
again, I'm not sharing my screen, so you have to piece this together in your head.
but I have a problem with
Yeah.
saying providing the best.
Why?
Well, we all have budget limitations.
It's irrespective.
Do we not provide the very best tools? Like,
That we can afford, yes.
do we?
Are you
We
lacking
haven't
for anything?
skimped on anything.
I mean, we've been pretty fortunate. What we've asked for, you guys have been pretty good about providing, so. I mean,
I think that's I mean, that's one of our values
Yeah.
of providing that. That's what,
I mean, we don't, I mean, I know you and I have specifically talked about, like, let's not nickel and dime things. Like, tell me what you want. Let's,
right, I don't think we do that.
And I agree.
But we also
that's what I'm
don't
pointing out is like,
shoot
we
for the
are.
moon either. We don't say, hey, you need 3 ladder trucks this year just because we want.
Yeah, but the trucks that you do buy, and maybe this is a good validation of my assumption, right? Is like when you send us quotes, it is again, there's always the
At the time, it's the best that's available.
It's the best
It's
you
what we
could,
need. Yeah,
yeah, for what you need.
it's, we're building it to what
And what we
see
can
we
afford.
need now for the
No,
next.
it's what he needs.
Correct. It's a 25-year investment. Where are we gonna be? Where's this truck gonna need to be for the next 25 years? And then we kind of, when we build a truck, I guess the process for the committee is we put everything on there that we could dream of, right? And then we chop and cut, like what is realistically gonna, we don't leave it there, obviously. We chop and cut, and realistically, are we gonna get to that? No. So do we need that? Let's cut that off. To make it where where we think we can get to, where the truck's gonna need to be. And that's kind of what we do.
I guess,
You could say the needed tools, training and guidance instead of the very best.
And I agree with that.
That be okay. I mean, it's not quite as,
I mean, it's not all inclusive.
Right.
But it's still, it's what we can afford right now at this instance.
I mean, we don't buy Kmart Blue Special, but we're also not at Saks Fifth Avenue.
I understand.
But I understand
So it's
that.
like-
So, I mean, I understand Mike's point, but it's also like, the best, isn't necessarily the most expensive thing out there, is I guess what our attitude is. The best for achieving what we need, that doesn't mean that it has to be the most expensive, shiny, flashy
Not the
thing.
Cadillac.
Right?
And I agree with him
Yeah.
exclusively.
So, but
So
do you,
that means including best.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really have a problem with the word best because
Yeah.
we're treating it more like best fit, not best because it's the
But
most.
then maybe
expensive,
you
I
should
guess.
say that,
Sure.
the best fit.
And is it beyond life-saving equipment? Is it also property saving, or is that not as juicy?
Just repeat what they had before. I think that really
Yeah, we
summed it up
changed it.
well.
Okay. Oh, you changed already that
to tools,
property?
training and
But
guidance.
we had already addressed
okay.
that.
Sorry.
I mean, I just think, and again, I think this is an important exercise, right? Because we know there's always something more expensive you could buy out there, right?
Of
But is
course
it, but
there
is
is.
it the best? Just because it's more higher price doesn't make it the best.
Exactly.
I mean,
I think leaving it at very best, I think
Can we take out the very? Maybe just the best.
my college English teacher would throw her arm around me right now. 'Cause she's like, David, stop doing it. I get flowers. Okay, so with the best tools, training and guidance. It just very just seemed sounded better.
It's
That's all right. And I agree with that.
But in terms of org values, let me boil this down, right? So we value open and honest communication. We want to provide the fire department with the best tools, training and guidance. And we value fair and equitable sharing of responsibilities discharged to the district.
there was a suggestion that maybe instead of saying best, you say maybe like safest tools, equipment.
Or necessary.
I mean, that's, I don't know.
I like necessary.
Because necessary doesn't mean it has to be the most, it doesn't bring in price, it doesn't bring all that, but it makes, the overall mission is just make sure the district itself and the department who's delivering the service has the necessary tools to do it, whether it's the most expensive, maybe it might be, or the least expensive, whatever it may be, but it's about having the necessary equipment to do the job.
But do you like
Or appropriate.
various?
Or appropriate.
Maybe make
The
word
most appropriate and necessary. So I want to make sure though, so the org values, is there anything else as a district committee that we value? We've got open and honest communication, equipping the fire department with the necessary tools, training and guidance, and then fair and equitable sharing of responsibilities.
Sounds to me.
Is there anything worse additionally?
Here, easy peasy.
Okay, for the last 45 minutes, we've been arguing about what?
So moving on, and now we talk about strategic goals and measures,
Well,
right? Because that was the mission
for
vision.
the
value.
mission, vision, and value, we want to bring that back next week after you've done your wordsmithing
We'll have
and
to change that as we went.
vote on them? Or do you want to vote on them now?
If you've got the new text, I just assume put it to bed.
Yeah,
It's fine with me.
Then somebody needs to make a motion on
you want me to read it one more time?
the
just so that
mission, vision,
Or
and
do you guys want to, I can pass it around, you can read it?
Read it to us.
Okay. So the mission, the Cottage Grove Fire District Committee's mission is to provide the Cottage Grove Fire Department timely and prudent financial guidance, strategic goals and measures, and a willing and supportive public partner. This is accomplished by providing an equitable funding formula, meeting regularly to address the needs of the department, and working collaboratively for the betterment of the department, the district, and our respective communities.
Outstanding. Meaning, not to change that, but what you just said.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry, I want to clarify that.
It's not a C word, is it?
Question?
Yes.
The equitable funding formula, do we need the word formula?
Again, I was looking at it from a layperson. What do you do? And funding is, one of the biggest ones. And I think it was important to point out how do tax dollars get allocated to pay for the fire department. So that I was specific. Yes, I was specifically calling out the funding formula.
But if we did take out formula, it doesn't change that we want equitable funding, right? That there should be equitable
Right.
funding.
So you want to change it to what? Providing what do you want to change it to?
It would be
Just equitable funding.
by providing
okay.
equitable funding.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. You take out the and.
Equitable funding. Yep. So this is accomplished by providing equitable funding, meeting regularly to address the needs of the department, and working collaboratively for the betterment of the department, the district, and our respective communities. Check. Moving on. Vision statement. The Cottage Grove Fire District Committee will strive to provide the Cottage Grove Fire Department with the tools, training, and guidance required to make it one of the most elite fire departments in the state of Wisconsin. Do I have to spell Wisconsin out? Or just
Yes, please spell it out. What my English teacher would be yelling at me about.
Wow.
We also strive to ensure the department continues to grow and remain a pillar of the community. Any feedback? Check. Organizational values. The Cottage Grove Fire District Committee values open and honest communication in order to fulfill the committee's mission and vision. Additionally, by providing the Cottage Grove Fire Department with the necessary tools, training, and guidance, the district enables the department to fulfill its mission and vision. Lastly, the district values fair and equitable sharing of the responsibilities discharged to the district.
And I agree.
Check.
I'll move approval of David's suggestions and our work for the statements.
For the mission, vision, and organization values as discussed.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. So now we're on the strategic goals and measures.
Because the first one you have that you listed with the ISO FSRS, is that the two that we were just talking about before?
They're specifically talking about the fire trucks, which I thought was weird for them to call it out because, I mean, our trucks have always met ISO standards. So, I mean,
That's an easy one.
yeah.
Okay.
I
So
mean, we
that,
kept it on there as easy points, I guess. I mean,
do you think we should put that the other ISO level 2 piece as a strategic goal?
we better.
How can you word it again? I don't,
The
you said you're working towards
the department will work to achieve an ISO score of 2
score of 2, okay,
village.
for the village. That's, okay.
He said, unfortunately, the town and the town of Pleasant Springs, they're gonna be stuck at a 510 just because of your hauled water. Unless you really have that unlimited funds, then
Okay.
you guys could do better.
Okay, thank you.
I do know when I lived on Sandpiper, right at the edge of where the town and the village are, I had a fire hydrant like 60 feet from my house. My fire insurance was cheap as heck because of the fact I took advantage of that fire hydrant that's technically in the village, you know?
I know that house.
You gotta be getting closer to one now.
Nick, would you want to add in there with that, with the working to achieve the 2, that we will also work to maintain our current ISO ratings.
Okay.
That makes sense.
There's a different name for it.
So Nick, I'm looking at their recommendations and did you,
We did some strike throughs.
you did, okay, I'm just trying to I'm comparing.
Some of them aren't really worded right. So like PAA's goal C.
Okay.
I guess without jumping around, do you want to just talk about B real quick?
Yeah, sorry, let's just go down the order. You're right.
B, they shall be maintained to ensure an availability 95% of the time or greater. We already do that. As soon as something's broken, we try to fix it right away. So.
That's SOP.
We changed the wording on C because they referenced Wisconsin SPS 330 and they specifically said certification levels, but SPS 330 doesn't have certification levels. They have training standards. You don't have to be a certified pump operator. You just have to meet the JPRs of a pump operator. So we took out where it says you have to be certified because you don't have to be. The state specifically says you don't have to be. So, and we changed it to say the duties they're expected to perform because we have members that aren't full-fledged firefighters, they're just drivers. So instead of making them take all the fire-related courses, they just take the driver-related courses because they're never gonna go into the burning building. They're just gonna drive the truck to the building. That makes sense.
Yeah.
We crossed out D from theirs because we do not use hours. Our standards are, we require a certain amount of monthly trainings. We don't require, we used to do hours, but then it just became really messy to track, especially if it was like the training took 1.8 hours as opposed to 2, then. So we require them to come do, it's currently 1 monthly training, which is what SPS 314, we're following 314 with that. And then we crossed out E as well. We changed that one for D. We put the department shall acknowledge receipt of an alarm within 2 minutes of the time of dispatch and have a turnout time of 6 minutes or less from the time of dispatch 90% of the time. And that came from the Dane County radio protocols. So we have to acknowledge within 2 minutes and we have to be en route within 6 minutes or else they'll call somebody else.
Great.
Are you guys meeting that one?
Yes.
Okay. Are you, and then do you have, I know with the new computers, you'll be able to, like, you can pull that data up in real time.
Yeah.
Do you, off the top of your head, and if you don't know, that's cool. Do you know what you're meeting at right now?
April, do you got any ideas on that? She enters all the times for us right now.
The 2-minute acknowledgement is hard to track, but the 6-minute en route will be very easy. I don't know what we are yet for this year, but I don't think we have any that are past that. We might have a
Okay. Only reason I ask is like, is that 6 minutes or less from the time of dispatch 90% of the time? Like, is that easily attainable or is that still a challenge to meet that one?
If we're not meeting it, we're very, very close. And I think we are meeting it personally. So
I'm just, like,
90% of the time.
is that bar like, as long as you have a pulse and you know how to drive, like you can get that, like, is it, or should you set it higher or is it, I'm just asking the question. I have no idea if this is a good or bad metric. I'm just asking.
I think it's acceptable. wanted to keep it as it is.
Is there any desire to make, like, to meet it 95% of the time or 92% of the time, just to set a higher bar? And again, I don't know. If my question's just batshit crazy, tell me.
I think you're gonna run it, here's what you're gonna run into the issue on. If we're over that time, it's most likely gonna be because it's an alpha level response. So yes, we're acknowledging within 2 minutes, we're getting out the door. We're not gonna drive lights and siren to, you're actually putting the community
In the tree.
You're putting the community at more risk by actually going lights and siren. So if there's anything that comes in there, so that's kind of really, now you got to break, and April can do all that. She breaks all the calls down, but I would leave it at 90%. The goal is to, on those calls that are Charlie's, the Deltas, the echo level calls, the ones that I want to say the higher risk ones.
So even,
I totally. And
I think NFPA's even that they don't even do 95 or 90. It's like use the 90 and use the 80, I think, on 1710 and 1720.
I mean, my kids would like it if you rolled with lights and sirens every time. I've tried to explain to them, like, that can actually be dangerous sometimes, right? Like, especially when they're driving behind me.
so, I mean, we've even stopped using lights and sirens for alarms. So like commercial fire alarms, because they're so often false alarms. Usually if it's a real fire in a commercial structure, not only will you get the alarm call, but then you'll get somebody calling 911 on top of it. So you'll have more callers and we can see that.
That's helpful. Thank you.
So that's why we kind of kept it there, because it's like, we're not going to rush like crazy for somebody's cat stuck in a tree, like you said. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Think about the cat.
Wow.
Think about the cat.
We have big cats for trees. I mean, we'll do it. Just, we don't put other people in danger.
I'm giving you a hard time.
We're working on the empathy.
I'm sorry about that. Did you catch everything I was saying, or did I completely garble and cut out?
You gargled and cut out.
Ah, boo.
It wasn't worth it.
Start from the beginning.
Oh no. Okay, your question was,
No,
what was your question?
Jess, help me out. I understand it now.
Okay, good. Yeah, basically I was saying, so that whole standard is a recommendation here in the state of Wisconsin as far as like times and response times go. But ultimately our goal is to try to meet those recommendations and those recommended timeframes. And we try really hard. But what I was saying is, so far this year for 2022, we've met the recommendations 100% of the time for our timeframes in both the village and the town. We have not gone beyond those recommendations for our structure fire responses. So we're doing really good for times.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Provide an effective response force on scene for structure fires only.
Yep, so we kept that one the same, and the reason we put structure fires only is because obviously a medical assist call, we're not gonna send 20 people to, we're gonna send one crew because we just don't need the resources for that.
Are F and G the same? Are F and G just the specifics for village and rural of E?
Yeah, the NFPA standard has different rules for a village as opposed to a town, so
Sure.
it's the same code, but it's the different breakouts for each.
Do you think we can just take out E since F and G state the goal and that it is for structure fires? Or is there something in E that is not in F and G?
We could take out E.
Probably could.
Yeah, 'cause, like, the problem with E is how do you measure that?
Right, that's what F and G are totally measurable, so.
Yeah, you could take it out. And then our H, we kind of cleaned up. It was their letter I. They said public buildings shall be inspected at least once in non-overlapping 12-month periods. But we talked about that and you guys voted to do it twice per year. So we just cleaned that one up. And then the last one was the 50% retention of members that live within the fire district, which if we lost more than 50% of the members in 1 year, that would be very, very bad. And I don't think we've ever come even close to that.
It would be a panic moment.
How many do we have that live outside of the district area?
Not many, less than 5.
It's
Less
two.
than
I think it's,
5%.
I think it's two people.
I think it's 2 people.
There's one that lives right on the border.
Right.
And he's technically got a Madison address, but he's on the border. And then there's one that lives in Sun Prairie. But he works days in Cottage Grove.
Sure.
So,
Those are good.
Where it used to, yeah, it used to be, you had to live in the district and we're kind of like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Times have changed.
yeah, I'm glad that they changed.
We need to approve the goals and measures.
I'll make a motion that we approve the strategic goals and measures as we discussed with the edits we discussed.
Second. Motion and a second to approve the goals and measures as amended. Discussion. And where do these go from here? Do they go to you? And do you put those,
formal. I guess it would be talking about our performance. So yeah, that would be something that we would track and provide updates on.
Maybe quarterly? Or I don't know how rigorous it is to run some of this data.
Quarterly would be fine. We we enter our reports pretty regularly, but typically quarterly we do a total and time. So quarterly would be it'd be easy to get the number.
3 times a year plus the annual report.
Yeah, that'd be fine too.
As part of your chief's report?
Yeah.
Great.
Is
okay,
that part of your motion?
Yeah.
all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And we can put the mission, vision, and values on our webpage too for the village.
Moving on, discuss and consider revisions to the consolidated fire agreement.
Next step is to talk about step 3 of EAA's recommendations, which is develop a more fair and equitable budget formula. We want to talk about the next meeting?
I think it's wise.
So I guess what's not fair and equitable about the current one?
I think they had some
That's the whole
recommendations.
point.
You want to put it on the agenda for next time? Or do you want to talk about it now?
Let's talk about it now.
I think the recommendation of PAA was that the formula is a proportionate equalized property improvement along with calls for service. And it ties the funding based on usage or a portion of it to usage.
And so like for 2021, did you run the two numbers and see how they came out?
We're waiting to hear back from Director of Finance.
So I think we should wait.
Would we have it for the next meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
I move we table this till the next meeting.
Second.
A motion and a second to table. discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next meeting date be 5/23 after landfill.
Yep. 6:30.
We'll have elections. When is the ladder due for replacement? In 25, 26,
2028.
28?
You have to order it now.
No,
Maybe in
Are
2025.
you talking about it? Have you figured out the design? Have you? You better get on that.
Get your price by next meeting if you want. I've already got a good idea.
It's 3 years out.
I know.
3 years?
Yeah, they're 3 years out on a ladder.
Wow.
So should we factor for 4 just in
Yeah,
case? Because we know the
2020.
world.
Kind of been talking about it and some other things, but that's.
You notice how we're laughing, but you're not, right?
I know, that's
very-
exactly what my feeling is.
Like,
so what
I know you're-
what limitations do we have for height then, for a ladder truck?
well,
So
so
it's gonna have to be at least 5 stories.
So Amazon has, I mean, and they've been involved in the Amazon project. Like it's only the first 2 floors are gonna have people in it. So floors 3 through 5 are gonna be,
But,
we're
wow.
told,
But,
100%.
wow, I hate to think of the person that's on the 5th floor.
What's on 3 through 5?
All robots.
Oh.
There are no people on the 5th floor.
I mean, it's the same thing with Summit though. Summit.
I understand exactly. But this is all a point.
Do you need a motion for the next meeting date?
For the next meeting date,
Yeah, for number 12, it's a discuss, consider. So I just one.
I threw out the 23rd because that's when we have landfill.
I agree to, yeah. Do we need a motion? I'll make a motion. Next meeting's on the 23rd, May 23rd, 2022.
Motion is second for May 23rd, next meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. So then for our next meeting, we'll have election, consolidated fire agreement. What else? Anything?
Update on the island removal.
If it pleases, maybe a tour of the new truck.
I was gonna have it.
I would expect to have it by the 23rd.
You were supposed to have it early April by now, right? Originally?
Yeah, and I think they just ended up running behind.
Yeah.
I mean, the date they gave us was March 29th, and that was like a rough estimate.
Well, when you see all these trucks being backed up.
And honestly, I think our truck right now, we got an email this week saying that our truck is in testing right now. So that to me would say that it's completely built, but they're going through like the pump testing, the driving, all that stuff. Part of the reason that I got scheduled for the 10th is because everybody's at FDIC, which is like the biggest fire event of the year. So there's nobody to do the truck walkthroughs. So they're not putting trucks out this week. That's why I got pushed to the 10th or whatever. So.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
It's non-debatable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Melissa, do we have a clean copy of the agreement that we had up until, what was it, November? That we would-
check with the attorneys.
That we would have to refer to at the next meeting if we're going to make changes, additional changes to it?
Okay.
I think the guidance has been to step through PA's recommendations. Because they haven't made any changes to, we stopped June, July, August, and Friday. So nothing's been done. Because of the fire study, and then they gave us the recommendations, and the attorneys were like, just do what they tell you. Their take was you paid 30 grand for the, so you guys will do what you do.
Values.
So what's up going up with the election?
Which one?
I don't know. How many are you running for?
What do you got?
There's 3 that I know of.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Thanks, guys.
Given the current rate of inflation.
Wow. They're never going back down.
Okay, thank you. You too.
They've gotten away with charging what they've been charging for years now.
They might go